We've got a no limits kind of a full moon coming up on June 11th. I am in love with this Sagittarius full moon. This means that the sun is in Gemini. There have been many aspects to Mercury, which is the mind lately. So this is a time for insights. It's a time for translating intuitions, path forward, really being able to hear, see what it is that we're kind of being called to step into. There's still this sense of the new, right? This new trajectory, new you, new life, new human, new earth, all of that stuff's going on still. That's kind of in the background of this full moon. But this full moon brings us a lot of hopefulness. I like the fact that this full moon in Sagittarius really opens us up to bigger thinking. It's like we'll be able to expand our minds to a place that might be able to comprehend a bit more around what we're becoming, who you're becoming and where life is calling you. And I love that there's some really great aspects. I want to dive into these, right? So Sag is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter just moved into Cancer. So this is a stunning, really beautiful play. Jupiter's conjunct Mercury, right? Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. The sun is in Gemini. So there's these like really wild, multi-layered and leveled aspects that are really supporting us to get it. Like I'm just going to say that, like to get it in a way that we maybe weren't getting what the deeper energetics in our bodies or our emotions or in our beings even have been doing. It's almost like the energy body has shifted into new human, let's just say, or the new you. But maybe the physical life around you hasn't quite made that shift yet, because the denser parts of us, they take longer. And sometimes our mental realm is really dense. But this full moon is such a good time for the mental realm, all of the limiting thought patterns to really shake apart, the like deeply grooved nervous system patterns, the deeply grooved, neurological ways where just like you do the loop. A lot of people will talk about it like that, oh, my mind is just looping. It's on the loop. It's on the loop. This is a full moon that's breaking apart those loops. So good. I want to talk about the big aspects going on during this full moon, and I want to give us a lot of practices. I think there's a lot of journal prompts. I think practices that are really good for this particular full moon will be things like translating, will be things like free flow writing, will be things like, sometimes a full moon, the best thing to do is to not engage the mind. The best thing to do is like to drop into body wisdom and just let your body move energy through you. Like a Scorpio full moon is really good for that. Like express the energy sexually is really good. Express the energy just by moving raw energy through the body. But this is not that kind of a full moon. This is a kind of full moon where we want to engage the mind because it's able to get the insights. That's the greatest thing about this full moon. Now, here's an interesting next piece. I'll kind of start diving into it. That was a little bit of like the overview feels of the full moon. Now I want to go through aspect by aspect. And as I go through the different aspects, we'll see what kind of practices or journal prompts, reflective questions come out of this. So first aspect, it's a full moon. So full moons are completion. It's culmination. You can look at where 20 degrees of Sagittarius is in your own birth chart, and you can see the house that it's in, which will tell you the area of life to look at. So it's a really beautiful way of going, instead of just, you could just do this. You don't have to run your birth chart at all, obviously. You could just meditate on it. Or you could just drop deeply into intuitive feels, knowings, right? Like wise self, I want to switch on wise inner self and go, what area of my life is coming to completion. Now, again, you can also look at your birth chart for the house. And just because this full moon falls in that house doesn't mean it's limited to that. Like, let's say it falls in the relationship house. It doesn't mean that your relationship's coming to an end. It doesn't quite work like that, right? So if you were to do a practice here without running your birth chart, by the way, there's a link below. You can run a free birth chart. I did a little masterclass on it. It's totally free. It's a little video that you kind of follow me through, and there's software online. It's free to everybody that you can just run a chart. You can find a link above or below to dive into that if you really want to do that. But here's a journal prompt and a reflective practice to go into is go through the different areas of your life. Like, just scan them and think, health. Then think relationships, then think home, then think career or work in the world, then think friends, community, right? And you create your own different areas of life, but that's a good way to get started is those. Don't forget spiritual. I think a lot of people are going to be hitting some spiritual changes, partially because this Saturn-Neptune conjunction now in Aries. It's like a revamp of what is meaningful spiritually for you. What is soul food for you now was maybe not what soul food was for you even a month ago, but a year ago for sure, right? I think that's a big theme. So that's something you might want to feel into too. And the question to ask yourself around this is, what is it that I feel like I've really completed? I feel like there's an end to this in my life. Is that energy in that place of home? Is that energy in the place of relationship? Is that energy in the place of spiritual soul food, right? That energy of completion, and now this is going to be a little more completion than just any old full moon. And the reason it's a little more completion than any old full moon is really because Saturn and Neptune are now both in Aries. That's like the first aspect of the zodiac. It's a big deal. That's a big deal. We really are moving into a new life path. It's a really great reset point. It's a really good 0 point. I talk about this a lot, is this 0 point of you're at ground zero now. Ground zero. Who you were a month ago is now who you are now. So ground zero, this is something to kind of do, especially on the new moons are really good for this. But this full moon, it's like, if you were going to go, who am I right now, right? Who am I right now? Like at this moment in time, this 0 point, what is it that's ending? What is it that has peaked out? It has maxed out. I have gone as far as I can go with this. That's a really good question to ask ourselves under a full moon. Now, a full moon in Sag, this could be flavors that help you understand this. A full moon in Sag might feel like this wanting to expand further. Sagittarius energy it's getting bigger, it's expanding. I have grown past that and I want to expand further. Like, where do you feel like you're in a cage? That's a really good visualization to do. All right, so here's another practice. Feel into different areas of your life and go, where do I feel caged? What is it in my life that makes me feel caged? Where do I feel like my wings are clipped? Like I can't fully spread my wings. I can't fully shine my light. I can't fully step into my like true, full, wild, beautiful, wonderful, big self, right? Those are places that are going to get louder, and it's a lot easier to see them under this full moon. So Sag full moon, it really brings inspiration. It really brings growth. It really brings optimism. It really brings this, Sag, they always say, is a sense of travel, but it doesn't mean physical travel. It's like, I must travel beyond my previous thought patterns. I must now travel beyond my previous spiritual level of knowing. I must travel beyond the relationship capacities I thought I had. What is it that you must travel beyond, but must travel beyond from a place that brings you joy? All right, so Sagittarius is also just this like joyful, playful. I love life for the sake of loving life. I love life for the sake of experiencing life. But it's really beautiful to go, what is it that I uniquely want to experience? What is it that I uniquely brings me joy? That's a powerful way of working under this full moon in Sag. All right, let's dive into some of the other aspects. Here's a big one that I don't think is going to be talked about a lot. This full moon, I've been talking about the spiritual aspects of this full moon, right? So Neptune conjunct Saturn, I said that moving into Aries, that can really have us looking at what is soul food now? What is spiritually nourishing for us now? Shiva, right? Shiva. This is a great representation of spirituality. It is a great representation of levels of consciousness. It is a great representation of our growth into higher states of being, right? Higher states of being, more awake states of being is conjunct the full moon. Isn't that beautiful? That's beautiful. Here's what I love about it that also might not be talked about, or we might not think about it this way. The moon is very feminine, right? The moon is one of the few major astrology points that is feminine, right? So the moon, intuitive, feminine nature, the infinite all of everything, the ground of being, the feminine mysteries. You want to think like divine mother. And so the feminine, right? She's holding the feminine conjunct Shiva. Shiva's masculine. Shiva's masculine. So this like depth of the mother meets heights of consciousness. Depths of the mother meets heights of consciousness. This can be really beautiful for anyone working in sacred union territory. Sacred union territory, or working with bringing those two energies into a deeper harmony, into a deeper rhythm, and opening up to potentially, should you be called to a path like this, some of the mysteries that are held within the divine union, some of the mysteries that are held within the sacred union. We have a whole mystery school on this. It's called the threefold path, right? Threefold because it's the masculine, it's the feminine, and then it's the union. And what happens when you open up to that union energy, that third energy that gets created when the masculine and the feminine unite, there's a whole set of mysteries that open in that. That was a mystery school that we ran 2 years ago, I believe. 2 years ago, it brought us into creation energy. So you open up to creation energy in there, that we called Dragon Mystery School, actually, because it brought about dragon energy, which is opening up to Kundalini. That is not just in the form of a serpent. This could be something to practice with too under this full moon. Opening up to Kundalini, that is not just in the form of a serpent, but she rises with wings. So it's almost like instead of just opening up to the feminine rising in you, the feminine spiritual wisdom rising in you, you open up to the masculine and feminine already in union spiritual wisdom rising in you. So it's not just the feminine. You can actually open up to Kundalini where that form of spiritual energy is already in union. And oftentimes the visual for that is, instead of it being a serpent, it's some form of serpent with wings. So she's already risen, she's already come into union, and there's already the new form that's taken place, which is with wings. So sometimes it's like a serpent with wings, sometimes it's a dragon. For us in Dragon Mystery School, most people would see dragon, and so it became dragon. Sometimes butterfly too, dragonfly. That was also a really common vision. So if you're seeing some of those visions, or you have, and you're wondering, that might be something to reflect on or meditate on, like, oh my gosh, is this what I've been working with? Have I actually been working with this form of Kundalini, this form of sacred energy? Just something to feel into. You never know. That threefold path mystery school, it's actually on sale until the full moon. So until this full moon that happens on the 11th, you'll find details for that below also. Okay, so that's Shiva conjunct the full moon. Now I want to talk a little bit more about, so that was union we're talking about there. I want to go a little bit more into feminine side. I really want to explore this. There's a few aspects I really want to explore. I'm going to go to this one first. I feel this one really, really loudly. Jupiter has just moved into Cancer. So in 2025, all the planets are shifting signs. Pluto shifted signs just a little before 2025 came about. But that's why there's so much change in 2025, is all the planets are shifting signs, all of them. Now, the outer planets move really slow. They don't shift signs very often. So for Uranus, for Neptune to be shifting signs, for Pluto to have just shifted signs, amidst all the inner planets, those shift signs quickly, right? Mercury goes quick, Venus goes quick, Mars goes quick. They go much faster. But to have all of them, inner and outer planets, shifting signs in 2025, y'all, this is a big year of change. There's a reason, I think, right? Because it also lines up with the Chinese year of the snake. It is the year of the snake. Snake, shedding skin, shedding skin, shedding skin, shedding skin. So if you want to like remind yourself, I think this can help now that we're, in June of 2025 and we're shedding some stuff and there's a lot of change going on and a lot of transformation going on. It's good to just remind ourselves like, oh yeah, this was the year that was meant to bring a ton of change. Yes, I'm constantly shedding skin. I'm constantly shedding skin and I'm constantly being birthed anew, It's a really good practice this year in 2025 to just stay so curious, like that mystical piece of wisdom of, beginner's mind, so curious. And it's so curious around who am I now? Who am I? Who am I? And being like a student of self, that path of know thyself, know thyself, know thyself. This is a year that is zeroing in on that path and going, who you were yesterday is not who you are today. So just a little reminder that that's the overall big energy we're in. Now, Jupiter's just changed signs. Jupiter changes signs about once a year. So Jupiter will now be in Cancer for a full year. But this is a new energy field for us under this full moon. It just happened on the 9th. This full moon's happening on the 11th. So it's new. It's a new energy for us. Now, Jupiter is expansive. Whatever Jupiter's aimed at or an aspect to or with, expands that, makes it louder, makes it bigger, right? It amplifies. Jupiter's a great amplifier. So he's amplifying Cancer in our lives for the next year. But it's going to feel new under this full moon of just like, whoa, why is my inner world so important? Why is my emotional nature so important? Why is my intuitive nature so important? Cancer's the sign of the mother. Cancer's the sign of the deep, intuitive, feminine nature. Cancer's water. Cancer's emotion. There's an emotional depth to Cancer and deep wisdom held in Cancer. And so feeling that aspect of us just got amplified. Loud, very, very loud, very, very loud. Now, when we can come into this rhythm with it, instead of fighting, because I know for some of us, this shift into deep, emotional, intuitive, watery territory might be a little jarring. For some of us, it's going to feel like home, right? We're going to be like, yes, this is my jam. But if we can surrender over to that, relax into it, and just as having this conversation is giving us the knowing, is giving you the awareness that that's what's happening. So it's like you then don't have to fight it. And the fighting it is where it's going to get problematic because it's going to be top of mind. It's going to be amplified. It's going to be important. It is important. And it's also important. It's not just happening happenstance randomly by chance, this massive year of change and transformation. Suddenly, come June, right? Come middle of this hugely transformative year, we get huge energy from the mother, the great mother. We get huge intuitive wisdom depths from the mother, from the deep feminine, from our inner world, right? We get huge support for that. And so it's a place to lean into. It's a place to, wow, instead of fighting my emotional nature, instead of fighting my deep intuitive nature, instead of fighting my feelings, my knowings, this is a knowing, I know what I know, this is a sixth sense, like mother's sixth sense, that intuitive knowing. This is a place to really lean into. And this is the great part. This is another great part about this, is Jupiter's conjunct Mercury also Conjunct. I need to look at this really quickly because my notes do not make any sense. Yeah, let me look at this really quickly because I don't want to get this wrong. Yeah, I thought that's what I had. So it's Jupiter at 0 degrees, Mary Magdalene at 2 degrees, Mercury at 4 degrees in Cancer. This is a powerhouse of a conglomerate. And if we were to feel into what Mercury and Mary Magdalene bring to the mix, I just spoke about Jupiter, and that like expansiveness has moved into really being focused and amplifying that aspect of ourselves, which is Cancer, which is the mother, which is intuitive, which is emotional. Now we put it next to Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene, if Cancer kind of brings in the mother energy, Mary Magdalene brings in the lover energy. That's what's happening under this full moon. So it's like Mary Magdalene, the heart, real heart-based, but it's high love. It's not just, human, if-then kind of love. I will love you if, under conditions, the conditional human love, which is not Mary Magdalene love. This is high voltage love, right? But it's not disembodied love. It's not like Neptune higher heart mystical love. It's very embodied, high voltage feminine love. She's bringing Jupiter into Cancer. Stunning. Mercury's the messenger of any archetypal energy. Mercury can translate, can bring you insights, can give you wisdom of any of the archetypes. Pluto, Mars, Venus, doesn't care. He doesn't care. He speaks all the languages. So under this full moon, Mercury is speaking Jupiter, is speaking Mary Magdalene in Cancer. This can also be, for some of us, it'll feel like a reprieve to the mind. Mercury has been kind of on a Mad Hatter little adventure over the last week. So he has been delivering a ton of messages. First, he was dancing with Mars, so the warrior. Then he was dancing with Eris and Chiron. This is telling us what our deepest wounds are, that these two are going to heal for us over the next year. Then he was square to Saturn and Neptune. This is him telling us what is happening with that, them moving into the first degree of Aries. Him translating here, this is now how you manifest. That's Saturn manifesting differently. Here's how soul food is changing for you. And then he's also been doing some stuff with Pluto. That's your deep underworld. So the mind has literally been in a washing machine for a week. Been in a washing machine of just like, okay, let me get Mars information. Okay, let me go get Chiron Eris information. Okay, let me go get Saturn Neptune information. And now he's like, okay, let me land in Cancer, because he's just also shifted signs out of Gemini. Let me land in Cancer. And so the way that he's landing in Cancer, it might feel like it's a little bit less this way, no, this way, this way, no, this way, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I don't know, which direction do I go? That can sometimes be the shadow side of Gemini, where he was just before he shifted. And so it can almost be like your mind almost drops into your belly. That's literally what Mercury just did a couple days ago when he shifted into Cancer. He literally, they say like your gut brain, right? Drop into your gut brain, drop into your intuition, drop into your belly. What do you know? From here, what is your belly saying? What is your intuition saying? Powerful under this full moon. Crazy powerful under this full moon. That would be a place to set yourself up to ask any kind of questions about life that you have, is drop your mind into your belly, really access this, because they're giving the insights. Like, they're bringing the goods. It's really stunning. They're also square to the Saturn Neptune. And Saturn and Neptune, like, they got a lot to say about your path forward and the new you, who you're becoming, and what this year of 2025 huge change is about. They're really the best aspect to kind of tap into, to like, what the fuck is 2025 about? At least right now, that's the best aspect. And for the gut brain and what I just spoke about to be in aspect to them, we're gonna get through tapping into our intuitive nature and asking questions when we drop our mind into our belly and ask the questions there. What is my purpose? What lights me up? This is a really big theme I'm seeing a lot. I saw this a lot in the challenge, is joy. Follow my joy. When we did the new feminine activation, it was really loud and strong, the new feminine. the new feminine now. What is our consciousness as humanity able to tap into now as feminine energy? And it's joy. It's joy. It's a level of joy that maybe some of us haven't lived with. We haven't tapped into. It's this level of joy. It's joy. It's joy. And I love that Jupiter's helping to bring this in as he moves into Cancer, conjunct Mary Magdalene with Mercury. It's like joy for the sake of joy, joy for the, like, you're living for the sake of living, and it's just joyful. There's a friend of mine, and she supported Rewilding retreats for a really long time, and it was so beautiful to be with her. She's wizened woman. I'll just say that she's a wizened woman. She's been on this planet for many, many years. And she spoke this, and the way that she spoke it one time, it just came through every cell of her body. It just radiated through every cell of her body. And it was like the joy of being in this body, like just the sheer joy of being in this body. And I'm totally not doing it justice, but it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, the most beautiful expressions of that divine feminine, that new feminine, like what it is to really open up to feminine wisdom within ourselves. And it's not just this pleasure, this surface level pleasure feminine, that I think that's a great doorway in. It's a great doorway in, but it's not pleasure, right? It's not that, like, I'm not gonna dive into that stuff. It's a good doorway in, but then you want to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper to, like, joie de vivre, right? Like, it's joy in the grief, it's joy in the pain, it's joy in lifing, it's joy. I listened to this beautiful, I cannot think of her name. She was on the Sounds True podcast. She's a minister, and she was not speaking about the dark goddess, but not one bit did she bring up like Black Madonna or, the dark goddess in any way, shape, or form. But she was talking about fierce love, this fierce love and this piece of joy. Like, her church burnt down multiple times, and the way that she was speaking about it was holding this thread that I'm speaking of, this like new feminine thread of, and still I love, and still I find joy in life, even though my community has been destroyed, my church has been burnt down again, there's devastation, and still I find love, and still there's joy in this ground of being. That is so stunning. That's going on. That's so stunning. We're going to work with some of that in London. There's virtual tickets to the event in London. That's also on special. So there's two things on special. I'm kind of seeing two paths unfold. The challenge was amazing. I got to watch 11,000 people go through this moment in time. What is arising? What is here? What is really asking to kind of be stepped into or worked with on, higher levels of consciousness. Higher, I roll my eyes. I don't know how we're using these languaging this day and age, but two paths. One is that I'm really feeling the union, like really feeling how sacred union is opening up so much more than what we think sacred union is about. So much more than what we think sacred union is about. Like opening up powers and potentials and capacities within ourselves that we didn't know we had, because we didn't really understand that our masculine and our feminine were not jiving well together. They were not making love, and they were not birthing new worlds, which is what they're capable of doing within us. And that just translates right out into our physical lives of you birthing a new world for yourself, you creating a life from the deepest, truest place within, right? Stunning. So that's one path that I see that lit up really loudly in this challenge, right? Is really opening up to the union mysteries. I talked about that. That's threefold path. We opened up 2 programs to support this. That's threefold path, that mystery school. And the second path that I watched really, really open up is this new human, right? Is the embodiment of the new human, the becoming of the new human. And what is the path to that? Right? What is the path to that? And that's where our London event that's coming up, Rewild Your Life event, supports that, because it's being created in the moment. Like right here, right now, and we're focusing on rewilding your life, and we're focusing on opening up to the new human and the capacities that are available. P.S. We're going to work with Jupiter in there. We're also going to be working with Mary Magdalene in that one. So if any of those 3 were just like, ooh, or those 2, we're like, ooh, and Saturn's another big player that we're going to work, like archetypal embodiment, all this stuff that I've been talking about, archetype IX, this whole thing that I drove everybody crazy about. We're working in that archetypal embodiment way in London. So that's also discounted until this full moon peaks on the 11th. And you'll see that below. That's just called Rewild Your Life. So you can do either virtually and journey from anywhere in the world, or come to London. Like, let's jam in London. In person is such a different experience. Such a different experience, as you all probably know, right? As you all probably know. All right, let's keep going. I want to just check our time really quickly so I don't go too super crazy wildly long. But this is a piece that we need to talk about, this next aspect. And I mentioned this in the week ahead astrology video. If you haven't seen that or want to, whatever, we're on the full moon now. You're not going to go back and look at last week. Let's be honest about it. So let me just bring you through the information so I don't annoy you and say, go watch the link to something that's old. You don't have to do that. Okay, so Chiron and Eris. These two are going to do a dance for a year and a half, and they're going to bring up your deepest wounds. Yep, I know. It's horrible. It's like your Achilles heel. Let's not say deepest wounds. Wounds sometimes really freaks us out. Your Achilles heel, like you're just like the chink in the armor, your Achilles heel, or multiple Achilles heels. They're doing it for your evolution. They're doing it so that you can move past that and step into a wisdom expression, or the blessing is the curse, sometimes is a good way to feel into that. We did this in Bones. So if you're in membership and you haven't done the first of the month workshop, we work this. We move the curse to the blessing. Like we literally take the curse, which for example, I'm very sensitive. I'm very empathic, right? I can move a lot of different energies through my body. That makes it very interesting being around humans and in certain situations, right? That are maybe not of like Mary Magdalene sort of energy. But it's moving the curse of that. The first half of my life was the curse of that. More than half of my life, I was living in the curse of that. Like the curse of being so sensitive, the curse of being so intuitive, so empathic, so psychic. The curse of that, it was a curse. And then working very, very, very consciously in that territory, which is what we did in membership, Bones. Super welcome to join us if you're not there. Final link below. But moving that curse to the blessing, even identifying what is the curse, like what is it? For some of you, it'll be similar to what I just shared because many of us have that one, but it's identifying. It's a step-by-step process to identify what these, the wisdom resides under these wounds. What is the curse that turns into the blessing? And then we go step by step to find those. And then we go step by step to shift them into wisdom, to shift them into, like I was able to bring through IX, all the archetypal transmit. I'm able to facilitate, let's just say, some crazy shit because of my curse, because of that permeability in myself. I couldn't move Mary Magdalene Shakti through myself if I didn't have that level of permeability, right? And so it's uncovering that for ourselves, though. I had no idea. Until I was literally in my 30s, early 30s. I had no idea I could do that. Not a clue. And so there's a lot of these gifts that like I still don't know about myself. They still haven't been uncovered and shifted out of hidden shadow or shameful shadow into golden shadow. Like I haven't gone deep enough under the pain or the rejection or the just not knowing. You just don't know what you don't know, into the wisdom of it, into the expression of that. So what are these soul gifts that are sitting there waiting for us? This is wild. 2025 is opening those up for us. And if we work consciously with them, especially around this Eris Chiron, right? This Eris Chiron, because it's going to work us. But we could just numb out. We could just avoid it. We could just ignore because it's tricky. It's triggery. It's challenging. It's like, ugh, I don't want to go there. But to go there with like a lot of love, and it can shift a lot quicker than we think it can. Something else I want to say is now in 2025, it's different how things heal and how they shift. We can move through stuff so quickly, so quickly. It's not throwing up in a bucket for a week, It's not like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to cry my eyes out forever in order to move this through my system. It can happen so much quicker, right? That's what some of these new sacred technologies that are coming online is, just this alchemical capacity that we have to alchemize something, to shift it from the curse to the blessing really quickly, right? To shift it from the wound to the wisdom really quickly. So this is a place that's very lit up underneath this full moon. I just want to look here really quickly. So the moon, right after this, about 10 hours after the full moon peaks, and the full moon peaks at 12:43 a.m. on the 11th. So about 10 hours later, the moon comes into a grand trine with Eris and Chiron. It's a grand trine, and they're all on fire. So it's independent feeling. It's initiatory. It's like it's go time. It's like it wants to happen, right? It wants to be seen, and it was just a full moon. So the moon's coming there, and the full moon illuminates. Wants to illuminate. Like, come on, look at me, and do something with this. Like, initiate something. Take a step toward healing. Take a step, whatever that step is for you. But like, commit to it. Commit to opening up the gifts under the wounds, opening up the wisdom, under the curse, the blessings that are there. Like, take a step. That's what fire's asking for. It needs initiation, like the spark. You need a spark. Maybe your spark is to join bones. Maybe your spark is to come to London. Maybe your spark is threefold path. Maybe your spark is just you committing to some kind of practice for yourself. Maybe your spark is signing up for something else, doing something else. But like, what's the spark? What is the spark that's going to support that? Powerful, very, very powerful there. Next thing I want to talk about is that the sun, shortly after this, the sun will square the nodes of fate. Basically, this full moon is squaring the nodes of fate, right? So it's a grand cross because the nodes of fate are opposite each other and the sun and the moon are opposite each other. So the nodes of fate are involved in this. So it's fated. So there's a little bit of all the things that we're working on. It's a little deeper to do with karma. It's a little deeper to do with destiny, with dharma. It's a little deeper. It's a little, and when we think dharma, karma, we think your soul's journey. So everything that's going on with this full moon, it's a little more aligned with your soul's path, right? It's beautiful because it opens that door. So the insights are a little bit more aligned to soul purpose versus, what my family expects of me. So it's a really good soulful spiritual time. Very good soulful spiritual time. Like, really to go, what is it that soulfully nourishes me? Who am I becoming that makes my spirit happy? What makes my spirit dance? What makes my spirit come alive? Very powerful, especially with Shiva on the moon during this full moon. Shiva's, of course, because he's on the moon, he's of course squaring the nodes of fate. It's really powerful, really powerful. Okay, Mercury is sextile Venus. This is him also having more conversations from the feminine. That can be good. We have, I just want to see if there's any other feminine aspects. Let me open this up. There were a couple in here that I was a little tripped out by. Who was it exactly? Definitely the Mary Magdalene piece that's probably not being talked about a lot. Pluto has been in a square. This is an interesting part. Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, he's been in a square with Lilith, Vesta, Hecate. Black Moon's been in there. So there's a dance going on there between the dark god, Pluto, and the dark goddesses, Hecate, Lilith, Black Moon. Now Vesta, someone asked this in the challenge about Vesta. It was interesting. Like, they pulled an oracle, a Rewilding oracle, on our little video thing in our Facebook group, and they got Vesta. And they're like, oh, Vesta, goddess of home and hearth. This seems pretty not great. Vesta's priestess, Vestal virgins, keeper of the inner sacred flame. Like, focuses Shakti, focuses your life force, focuses purpose. Like, powerful, crazy symbol, powerful, crazy Shakti to be working with. And so for her to be focused power in the depths of the underworld with Pluto dancing with the dark ladies, that's pretty good. And just prior to this, we had a grand trine going on with Mary Magdalene, Hecate, and and Lilith. That's still active. Mary Magdalene's at 2, Hecate is at 0, and Lilith asteroid is at 1. So there's still a grand trine here going on with those goddesses, those Shaktis, and Hecate is queen of the underworld. Lilith, Lilith really opens up the wild woman, right? Lilith really opens up like the fullness of self, irregardless of your judgments around the fullness of yourself and the world's judgments around the fullness of yourself, right? She is untamed, uninhibited. I know no limits as the feminine wildness. And so for them to be in this grand trine, it's just adding more of this feminine juice, which I love. I love that that's offsetting what could be very mental of a Sag full moon with a Gemini sun, right? And the Saturn piece is still pretty loud, having just moved, right? That can be like very masculine-ish. Mercury having done all these dances, that's such the mind. So I'm loving that these goddesses are coming in. Like they are the lower chakras. They are the lower wisdom centers. They're like, and this too is part of you. You know, this too is wisdom, your lower wisdom center. Are you tapping into it? How much root chakra work have you done? How much second chakra work have you done? Because let me tell you, the juice flows through there too. It's kind of what she's saying. And she's like, don't forget about the depths of feminine wisdom. Don't forget about like body-based wisdom, intuitive-based wisdom, the fierce feminine, that story that I shared with you, right? Fierce love about the Reverend who, you know, in the midst of all of this, it is fierce love. That's the dark goddess. I can love this too. There is nothing that I do not love. There is nothing that I do not love. There is nothing that I do not bring Shakti to. There is nothing that I do not see as part of the all of everything. And therefore there is nothing that I cannot find joy in. That I think is the perfect place to wrap it all up because it just came full circle, right? All right. I would love to see you in London or virtually or in the threefold path. I send you so much love for this full moon and just mad blessings. I feel a lot of blessings right now with the Jupiter piece, like a lot of blessings. And so if we can turn the dial, you know, turn our focus and our attention to blessings, 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 and like follow the blessings, follow the joy. What is it that's joyful for you? And you just follow that thread, follow that thread, follow. We just have to remember to do that though, you know, like remember to turn the dial to the joy. All right. Massive love to you. I will see you when I see you, where I see you, and how I see you. Mwah.